Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. You can find us on weekdays at 3 Eastern on the Action YouTube and the Action app. We have so much to get into today. The Sweet 16 in the NCAA men's tournament is set, but the women's side is still TBD, so we're going to get you all kinds of picks for tonight, as well as some early leans for the men's side later this week. We're gonna get into some baseball stuff with Sean Zerillo as well, so stick around for that. But we start in the NBA, and after Saturday's 31-point performance against the Pacers, where Joel Embiid didn't even play in the fourth quarter, he now has 9 straight 30-point performances. That's a new franchise record, topping Wilt Chamberlain and Allen Iverson, who each had 8 in a row. Nice to see some old school footage there. Not only that, but Embiid also has 7 straight 30-point performances on at least 55% shooting. The only time that has ever been done in the shot clock era was by LeBron James in 2013, so Embiid has a chance to surpass LeBron tonight against the Bulls. By the way, all of this has led to Joel Embiid now being the favorite for NBA MVP at -210 at BetMGM. Nikola Jokic is now second at +275, followed by Giannis with the third best odds at +450. With that, we bring in one of our NBA analysts, Sean Little. Sean, it's good to see you again. So are you buying into Embiid as the new front runner for MVP for the regular season?
Yeah, at BetMGM, currently sitting -220, depending on where you look at it. I have to believe it. I mean, he now leads the league in scoring. He plays a better brand of defense, and the overall Sixers are rolling. I think this is one of the most narrative-driven MVP situations that I can remember for a few years. Now, they're looking for reasons not to give it to Jokic. As soon as they lost 4 straight, the Nuggets did for the first time this year, that absolutely swung the pendulum, and now Embiid is the favorite. It doesn't look like he's going to give it back, but he scored 30 in 9 straight games. The Sixers look like they're one of the best teams in the NBA. They're 14-3 in their last 17 games. So I have to buy it. Embiid, in my opinion, should have won it last year. The only thing that was missing this year for Jokic was winning, but the close down the stretch here has been tough.
Really quick, do you think that people are looking for reasons to not give it to Jokic just because voters get fatigued and maybe they feel like, how could he possibly be worthy of winning 3 in a row?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I believe if you remove the 3 in a row thing, like if you got the Men in Black memory wipe after each year of the NBA, I believe Jokic would get it. He crushes on all advanced statistics. Without him, that Nuggets team is really, really poor. But I talked to Tim Bontemps, ESPN, at the Garden the other day, and he has this straw poll that comes out every, 3 times a year. He has 3.0 coming out here at the end of the month. And if you guys remember last year, it looked like a foregone conclusion Embiid was going to win it. Then this last straw poll came out. Jokic ended up getting the nod on the straw poll, and it flipped again. I don't know if it's necessarily over, but yes, I do think that the narrative of 3 in a row is hurting Jokic, and people are looking for a reason not to give it to him. Nuggets lose 4 straight. Sixers are now rolling. Embiid's 30-plus a game, leads the 33.5 a game, leads the NBA. That's a good enough reason for a lot of people to flip to Embiid.
It's a really good point, and I kind of wish we did have that memory eraser thing, because I would love for it to just be season to season, who is the MVP, and not have, what happened before and what could happen in the future sort of play into it. But that's what it is. It is what it is. We get it.
It is what it is.
Well, all right. As you mentioned, Embiid has the Sixers rolling. They're on an 8-game win streak. They're back in action tonight at 7:10 Eastern, hosting your Chicago Bulls. So who you got in this one?
Yeah, let's jump into it and break it down here a bit. Like I mentioned, the Sixers are absolutely rolling, 14-3 in their last 17, have won 8 in a row, and 5 of those games are on the road. So they're one of the best teams at home, and then they're now continuing to roll on the road as well. Joel Embiid owns my Chicago Bulls, 9-1 against the spread, 10-0 straight up in the last 10 ball games. There's just nobody on the roster over the last few years that can deal with him. Vucevic is a big, but he's a soft big. He wants to play on the perimeter. He doesn't want to necessarily play screen and roll too much. So I like Embiid in this matchup. The Sixers are cruising. In the last 15 games, Sixers are number one in net rating at plus 10.5. Number two is the Knicks at plus 8. And then number three is the Bucks at 6.7. That's almost a plus 4 differential in that spot. The Bulls, though, have won 4 of 5 on the back of DeMar DeRozan. They went out to Denver and got a W, which seemed unthinkable throughout this year for the Bulls to go out to Denver and get a win there. But they've been riding the back of DeMar DeRozan, had 49 versus the T-Wolves the other night. This is a little home and away spot, so they're going to play in Philly, and then they go back to Chicago on Wednesday. If you're looking to back the Bulls, I would wait till that second matchup on Wednesday. I lean Philly in this spot, but it's the total and the spread seem about right. Opened at 6.5, now 8.5. I'm going into the prop realm here.
Right, and speaking of, you brought up DeMar DeRozan, so what are you thinking from a prop perspective for him?
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan under 33.5 points, rebounds, assists, minus 110 over at BetMGM. Sixers are the second best team in the NBA versus small forwards in points allowed. 19.8. They can throw guys at you like Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton, PJ Tucker. And DeMar overall this year specifically has struggled against the the Sixers. He went under this PRA number in both the matchup this year. He only had 12, 5, and 6 the last time these guys played in early January. Also, a big factor here when I'm looking at just overall props is pace. Last 15 games, Bulls 30th in pace, Sixers 28th in pace. This should be a slow, grinded out game. Philly's going to focus on slowing down DeMar DeRozan. That's the only way the Bulls have been winning as of late. He's been the focal point on offense, and that's what they go to in the fourth quarter. Philly's going to focus on slowing him down. Give me under 33.5 points, rebounds, assists, DeMar DeRozan in Philly tonight.
Makes a lot of sense. And if you want more insight like this, you got to check out the Buckets pod on Action Network, of which Sean Little is a part of. Sean, thanks so much for joining us.
Maria, thank you.
Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's move over to college hoops, and the second round of the women's tournament continues today. Teams are trying to advance to the Sweet 16. The slate gets underway at 4 p.m. Eastern, and here are the spreads and totals for each game. I'm personally eyeing that Florida Gulf Coast Nova matchup. I think that could be a good one. And here to preview all the action for Monday, we have betting analyst from Her Hoop Stats, Dano Mataya. It's great to meet you, Dano. First of all, tell us, what are the trends that you're seeing so far betting women's March Madness?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Maria. It's been a little bit of a rocky tournament from a data perspective. A lot of things that we are not expecting to see. A lot of points when we don't expect them. None at all, like that Stanford Ole Miss game last night. Unbelievable upset, but that's a great example of the parity that we're seeing in women's college basketball continue to grow. Favorites are doing better as they usually do, 24, 18, and 2. And over-under was very, very similar. Now, after yesterday, 7 of the 8 games went under. So it's 24 and 20. I am pretty amazed how many games went under yesterday, and the only one that went over by the hook. So pretty exciting. I expect to see at least me and my guys get back on track a little bit. And I love some of the plays that we have here today.
Yeah, look, this is why we call it madness, and definitely a lot of good defense we've been seeing so far in the tournament. But let's talk about the slate today, specifically the first matchup on tap with Ohio State and UNC, and your pick for that.
Okay, 4 p.m., so, basically taking off work early. And I really am surprised to see this number hit above 141. So that's the total I'm talking about. So I'll be taking the under here. We haven't seen a UNC game hit a total above 140 in, I think, the last 10 games. It's because of their strong defense. They don't have an extremely fast pace. They did get some players back from injury, but I think they're strong enough. They defend well enough, and they're probably going to have some trouble with that Ohio State press. I really like this under at this number. I feel like it'll drop down to 139 around game time. And As also, I do like Ohio State -4.5. I think you can get a better line live just on the way they've been starting games lately. They've had, I think, two 17-point comebacks in the last few games. And of course, they got thrown by Iowa. But I do like the under.
Okay, and you like another under for tonight, and this is another game that I think is going to be just a really, really great watch with Texas and Louisville.
Absolutely. It's a rematch from a game that happened exactly 4 months ago. Louisville ended up taking that one 73-61, but Texas was without the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Rory Harmon. She's one of the best point guards in the country, and I firmly believe that she'll be tasked with locking up superstar guard from Louisville, Haley Van Lith, who went off for 26 points in that 2-point win against Drake. These are two strong defenses, but Texas defense is on another level. And Vic Schaefer, since he's been at Texas, 10 tournament games, 7 of them have gone under, and they're playing at home. I'm all over this under. I'd be so surprised if it goes over. Could end up being one of those situations with a lot of fouls at the end of a game. In that case, maybe look for a live over and an opportunity to middle if the game is close, which I expect it to be. 8 is a lot, is what the market's showing, but Texas should keep Louisville at least under 60 points.
Right, and Louisville has shown that their defense is very stout as well. But let's talk about always a hot ticket around tournament time, which is UConn, and they draw Baylor tonight. What do you make of that matchup?
I was watching that game. I got to it a little bit late, or I was watching the Baylor game a little bit late. So I see the first quarter score. It's 22-4. And then I saw the hottest shooting display I have ever seen in my life. I think they went 12 for 14 on their next 14 three attempts. Just ridiculous amount of scoring. So one, I think we see some regression with Baylor. Like, they cannot keep that shooting up. Two, UConn's defense is a completely different type of defense than what Baylor saw in Alabama. Given the, time of prep, so you get a day to prep for a defense like Gino Auriemma's in UConn, and UConn playing in a sold-out Gamble Arena, I am taking UConn getting the points. I'd see it's 15.5 at some books, but you can definitely shop around. I like 13.5. If it does get up a little higher, I like it less, but UConn should roll in March.
Yeah, and as they've been rolling thus far, knock on wood though, for your pick. And one other pick you have for tonight, what is it?
Ooh, this one, I'm kind of jumping on a underdog money line for I think the second time this tournament, but we saw a Pac-12 team go down in Stanford yesterday, last game of the night, against a team that doesn't have any kind of style that they're used to playing. So that was Ole Miss, really scrappy, plays all over the ball, held Stanford to 20 points in the first half, the lowest they've had all season. UCLA is going up against a team like Oklahoma who will shoot the ball in 5 seconds or less. Oklahoma's offense is still unreal. All their players are healthy. I think this is a great opportunity for a money line underdog at plus 240 at some sites, maybe plus 220. But Oklahoma has all the pieces to win this game outright. Definitely taking the +7 or +6.5 where I can find it. But scoring average wise, I just don't see that UCLA can keep up. Their defense is strong, but so many weapons on this Oklahoma side.
And so much great information from you, Dano Mattia, from Her Hoop Stats. We're so glad you can join us, and we look forward to having you back throughout the women's NCAA tournament.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Maria.
From the women's tournament to the men's tournament, here's a look at all the matchups coming up in the Sweet 16 on Thursday and Friday. The action gets underway at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Thursday with Michigan State and Kansas State. And someone who is already tracking all of this, no doubt, is college basketball expert Mike Calabrese. Breeze, good to see you again. Before we preview the next round, though, we have some news we would like to get your thoughts on, and that is reports being Rick Pitino will be the next head coach at St. John's on a 6-year deal. Quick reaction to that?
Home run hire for St. John's. This is a total game changer for them. You have to remember, beyond his off-the-court issues, this guy is a savant. He built Louisville into a national power, 530 win plus teams, a national title, multiple Final Fours. He goes to rehab his image at Iona, and that worked out beautifully. He takes him to the NCAA tournament twice, takes him to the NIT once, wins 75% of his games. And then in November, early December, he's exonerated by an independent NCAA investigation in terms of his recruiting violations. And because of that, that really removes any cloud above him. And that was really the last hurdle that a school like St. John's needed. They end up hitting a home run here with a school like Providence. They lose Ed Cooley today. I'm sure they would love to get a coach of his caliber in there, but St. John's beats him to the punch. And now there's, all kinds of smoke and rumors that the Vitamin Water CEO wants to start pumping money into the program. It's time to turn around the Johnnies. And New York City's been dying for it. They really haven't been competitive on a national stage for about 20 years. But all it's going to take is a few good players. Pitino did it. Plucking the junior college ranks. Dennis Jenkins comes in this year, was tremendous. He also was able to recruit internationally with Nelly Jr. Joseph. So his reach has no limits when it comes to recruiting. And then as a turnaround specialist, I think he's the perfect fit for the Red Storm here.
Turnaround specialist, that's like the perfect way to describe him. He just knows how to turn around programs. To your point, he's a proven winner. And if you were able to recruit at Iona, you should theoretically be able to recruit at St. John's. So really, really interesting hire there. Now we're going to turn our attention to the men's Sweet 16. But before we do that, I want to give you a chance to brag a little. Feel free to humble brag anything you got right here in the first two rounds of the tournament. I remember personally you were all over Furman. Anything else you want to just brag about?
Creighton, I felt great about before they ended up drawing Princeton here in the Sweet 16. I think they are live to win the national championship. It's obviously going to require them beating some really good teams down the stretch, but they're playing as well as they played all season long. We talked about it at the bracket reveal show. They were top 30 in offensive and defensive efficiency. You saw that in how they smothered NC State in the opening round game, and then they just kept attacking the basket and getting good looks against Baylor and scoring in the mid-80s. If they continue to play at this level, there's no reason they can't win the national championship. So on the Big Bets on Campus podcast, we were able to punch a ticket, I believe, at 35-1. So we're hoping that one comes home.
Okay, and I still feel like, given all of that, you're still being rather humble, so I appreciate you for that. But well done. As for the games coming up, what matchups do you like so far?
So it's interesting, if you ask people prior to the tournament how Tennessee would look if they made it to the Sweet 16, you wouldn't consider them a prohibitive favorite. Yet they open here -5.5, -6 against FAU. You got to remember, they squeezed by Louisiana, winning by just 4. And Tennessee was 4-6 against the spread down the stretch in games where they were favored by 4 or more. So they just haven't been a reliable favorite. And now they're up against an FAU team, which is one of the best teams at the window the entire season. They covered 2/3 of their games. And I still think they're underrated, not just from an on-court perspective, but the overall nature of this tournament. They should be one of the Cinderellas we should be focused on. But because of FDU, because of what Princeton did getting to the second weekend, they're taking up all the oxygen. This is an Owls team that's top 40 in KenPom O and D. So I think they have the balance to go ahead and keep this one close. I'll go ahead and take the points with the Owls against a Tennessee team that can still go through lulls offensively.
All right, what else?
I also like San Diego State. The fact that it's sitting there at 7, 7.5, 8 at some places in the market, I think that's too rich for an Aztecs defense that just shut down 2 explosive offenses in the first weekend on the way to the Sweet 16. Facing Furman, facing Charleston, they were able to really limit them from 3-point range and at the rim. And that is absolutely what Alabama wants to do in this game. That's how they get all of their points. So when you go look at a guy like Brian Dutcher, one of the best game planners in all of college basketball, forget about the mid-major monikers. He's someone who does a really nice job preparing his team regardless of opponents. They've won 40% of their games outright as an underdog since 2018. That's top in the Mountain West and 27th nationally. So he's never out of his depth. And it really just comes down to Matt Bradley. Can he give the Aztecs 20 points? Because if he can, I think they're a game, to go ahead and win this thing outright. You got to remember, they played Arkansas in the Maui Classic earlier in the season, a top 10 battle, or at least a top 10 opponent, and he went off for 23 points. They lose in OT. It's going to require that kind of performance to win outright against Alabama, but another game where I think it's going to be a half-court grinder, I'll go ahead and take the points.
He does all the research, so you don't have to. Mike Calabrese, thanks for joining us. I miss having you in studio, but glad we could do this, and I'm sure we will do so again throughout the remainder of March Madness.
Thanks, Maria. Appreciate it.
I do like the Guardians to win their division more often than the odds suggest. I think they should be closer to about plus 120. I believe there's some plus 160s out there. I would bet that down to plus 150. I also think, obviously, that correlates to them getting to the playoffs at a higher percentage chance than they are likely implied. So their World Series odds, I think, are okay down to 33-1. Pennant odds down to plus 1750. Those should be small sprinkles, just like a tenth of a unit. Would certainly bet more like 3/4 of a unit on their divisional odds. I think it's interesting. They were projected third last year. Their win total jumped by 10 wins. My projection jumped by 11 wins. I think it's all legitimate. They're really deep in the bullpen, and I think they're built to win under these new rules. All of the new rules lead into the Guardians in addition to the regular season depth. I like this team to be steady throughout the season.
You just heard from Action Network senior writer Sean Zerillo on the Payoff Pitch podcast. And Sean joins us now. Sean, good to see you. Baseball season inching closer. And sticking with the divisional theme, you have a lean on the NL East. Tell us about it.
Yeah, given all these injuries that the Mets have sustained in recent weeks, not only with Edwin Diaz going down likely for the season, but also Jose Quintana likely out till midsummer, Brandon Nimmo getting hurt running the bases the other day, and just general injury concerns that I have about the Mets coming into the year. Older rotation, I believe the oldest rotation in baseball, led by Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, who have dealt with injury concerns of their own in the past couple of years. So even before these injuries, the Diaz injury, the Quintana injury, I had the Braves finishing about 6 wins better than the Mets this season. Fangraphs, also similar to me, has the Braves rated as the best team in baseball. They had the Braves 4 wins ahead of the Mets and still have them about there even after the injuries. So they have the Braves winning the NL East around 58, 59% of the time. It would put those fair odds around minus 145. I would have it even higher, closer to 60, even 65%. So the Braves NL East odds right now at plus 110. Certainly we would take that down to about minus 110, even maybe minus 115 or minus 120. I think that is the best way to go about fading the Mets at this point. Would not play their win total under. I kind of align with the projection market in terms of the Mets win total. They have a number of really high-end prospects they could bring up during the season to sort of replace depth. But going into the season, high-end roster talent, high-end roster depth, the Braves significant advantages in both areas. So the Braves win the NL East, win the NL pennant is another safe correlated bet because I do expect them to get the 1 or the 2 seed in the National League. And then on top of that as well, their World Series odds too. And all sort of future bets as well that correlate to the Braves doing well this year. Ronald Acuna Jr. to win MVP, home run leader Matt Olson at 50-1, RBI leader Matt Olson at 18-1, and then Max Fried, my favorite bet amongst them, wins leader at 25-1. Project him on the most starts for the team with the most wins, and I project him as the wins leader in all of baseball at 15. So bunch of ways you could play the Braves, but I think I would rather play the Braves futures at this point than betting against the Mets directly with any win total unders.
If you know a Mets fan, check on him or her because chances are they are not doing so well right now despite all the excitement of the offseason. Bit of a grim outlook right now for the Mets. And another thing you don't want to bring up to Mets fans at the moment is the World Baseball Classic because it can be a little triggering. However, the semifinals continue tonight. We have Japan favored taking on Mexico at 7 Eastern. So, Sean, who do you like tonight in the semis?
Yeah, I'd lean to Mexico in the under here. I projected Japan around 67%, so minus 200. So if Mexico floats up closer to plus 240, I would consider jumping in on their money line. I do like their spread and the under where it currently stands, though. That plus 1.5 runs for Mexico, you could take down to plus 115, and the plus 2.5 runs, which is available at MGM, you could take up to minus 128. Now, the under, I projected this total around 8. There's been a lot of scoring in Miami, but Roki Sasaki for Japan, if he were to make the jump to the major leagues tomorrow, I would project him as a top 15, maybe top 12 starting pitcher in all of baseball. He is an ace right off the bat. Did not win the Japanese equivalent of the Cy Young last season. That would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who, if Sasaki gets into trouble, Japan is capable of bringing in right away, or they could also opt for Yu Darvish as well. So Japan absolutely loaded on the starting pitching front. But Mexico going to throw Patrick Sandoval tonight. He's an above average major league starting pitcher. And a few things for this Japanese team. They have not faced a team with this many major league players yet. This is also their first game outside of the Tokyo Dome, going to Miami, a park that a lot of their hitters are not going to be familiar with. Their pitchers will not be familiar with the mound. So there's a lot of reasons why Mexico may get a couple of percentage points just in terms of a home field advantage. Japan also hasn't played in 4 days, so maybe those bats are going to come in a little bit cold after averaging 9 runs per game in their first 5 contests. So do you like Mexico here as the underdog side? Do you like the under as well? Maybe cold bats coming off of the plane, or Sasaki pitching well and keeping Mexico in check too? Been firing on underdogs almost all tournament. The overs have been hitting in Miami, but I think the under is certainly the side tonight.
Very interesting. And remember, you can catch Sean Zerillo and all of our baseball experts on the Payoff Pitch podcasts on Tuesdays and Fridays in season. But why wait? Get ready for the season now. There are all kinds of preseason pods available on Action Network. Sean, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
In addition to what you just heard from Sean in the world of baseball, we also had some picks today for men's and women's college basketball. You can keep track of all of these by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. Super easy, highly recommend. And also a reminder that Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets. If you don't win your first bet, terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's going to do it for Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for hanging with me, and I will see you again Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.